Hi, guys. This is Jacqueline Cromwell from Homeschool Hangout by Nerd Family. And today is Affidavit Day. For those of you who don't know, the private school affidavit for homeschoolers becomes available on October 1st. And if you are a new or continuing homeschool, you are expected to fill it out between October 1st and October 15th. If you pull your child out after that, and before I believe it's June 1st, you just fill out the affidavit when you need to. And so today I'm going to fill this out, do a screen capture. I'm using new software. So please let me know what you think about this and the sound quality. Please find me, subscribe here, like this, find me over at my Facebook group, Homeschool Hangout by Nerd Family. I'm Nerd Mom on Twitter, all the good things. If you like these kinds of screen capture situations, do me a favor. Let me know what you want me to screen capture. Are there some forms you want me to walk through? How to use certain tools, websites? Let me know. I like doing these kinds of videos. And let's get into it. Okay, so first we're starting with, you're just going to go to the cde.ca.gov//affidavit. I'll put a link to this in the bottom. If you put Homeschool California Affidavit in your Google, it'll pop up. And this is just going to go through at first who should file. This includes but is not limited to conventional or traditional private school affidavits. That fancy private school has to fill out something like this. They have to file a lot more things, but nonetheless. Parents who operate a private homeschool. And so that is who I'm doing this for today. Note, private schools offering just like kindergarten and preschool, not included in this. There are some instructions here, but we are not going to use them. And I lied. Schools between July 1st and September 30th need to wait till October to file. So we do have some different things here. There's some other mechanisms and stuff like that, but we're not going to deal with that right now. We're just going to file our affidavit. And for the record, I have, of course, already done mine. I am not using my personal information because, well, I love you. I don't love you that much. You'll notice I'm even using the Edge browser, so all my information doesn't automatically pop up. So we are doing this as per section 33190. I have that memorized at this point, the 33190 numbers. It is super easy. So let's jump on in. We are a full-time private school. If you filed last year, all you need is your confirmation number or the email that you used last year, and you can have most of your stuff filled out for you. If you filed last year, you don't have to go through that way. You can start over with a blank affidavit. That's how we're going to do it. So name of the school. There are very few rules about how you name your school. You can call it the Pickle Pants Academy if you would want. Matter of fact, let's call it that. Pickle Pants Academy. If you call it the something school specifically, they want you to drop off the school if it's at the end. If you have school in the middle of your title, keep it in. The CDS code, this code is not for us. This code is only for schools with more than 6 students. Or I'm sorry, not more than 6 students. Yeah, you've got certain things. Don't worry about it. We're not going to need it. Okay, county. I am in, we're going to say Fresno just because that's where I'm at. And you just scroll, they're cities. And it's by county, not by city. District. We are in Fresno Unified. As you notice, for my county, there's a whole bunch of different options. It's not just pick it. If you don't know where, you can click on this, and they've got something called Great Schools. Basically, you'll put in your address, and it'll tell you what district you're in. This is really useful if you've just moved and you're just not quite sure. I am co-educational. I happen to have boys and girls. It has always been what is considered the conventional wisdom to always say co-educational, even if you only have one gender in your home. Same thing like you are a day-only school. You are not a residential boarding school, because that could possibly flag something of people saying, well, if you're a boarding school, you have to have other rules and regulations for doing it with other people. Do you provide special education? I say no. I don't know if it flags you otherwise, because there are certain special education codes and rules that you have to provide in certain things. Now, if you have a student with an IEP, and you're getting support through your county or your greater district, you might want to put yes, but that would be an HSLDA question or a legal question. Does the school provide a high school diploma? Here's the thing. I provided a high school diploma last year, so I have to say yes. If you have never provided a high school diploma, say no. I have now given, how many have I given? I've given 2 now so far. So you just put in your lowest grade here, your highest grade here. So we're going to say 10. We'll say we've got a 5th grader and a 10th grader. And the classification of a school, non-religious. Choose non-religious. It just makes life a little easier right now. I don't know of any big flags that come up, but I have always been told by everyone who's ever done one that you want to do that. Okay, so we're going to put in a physical address. This is not my address. It is someone else's. So be nice. Clovis. We're in California. If you do not have a physical or mailing address in California, do not fill this out. 93611. We're going to copy the physical address. So the big thing here is you have to have a physical address. So they can say, let's say they want to do check and see where students are. It's never happened to me, but it is different than a mailing address. So it's important to do that. So phone number, well, what is the typical 555-555-1324? Primary email, at Pickle Pants. So some people say, oh, you need a dedicated email that has your school name in it. Not true. I do not have a dedicated email address with my school name in it. It does happen to be a private email that is tied to my domain, but my school name is not my domain name. So this section only applies to schools that have previously filed an affidavit. If you've never filed an affidavit, just say no. Has the school's name changed since last filing an affidavit? I'm going to say no. But if it had, you would just enter that name here. So if when your kids were younger, you decide to name it Happiness Joy Academy, or you can change it to something that you'd want to see on a high school diploma. It doesn't matter. You just have to let them know. So if you don't feel the pressure of, oh, I'm picking this name and it has to be our name forever. No, it does not. Don't worry about that. Has your public school district changed since last filing the affidavit? I'm going to say no, but if it had, all you do is you pull down and put in your previous school district. So for us, was it 6 years ago, we moved from one side of town to the other side of town and our school district changed. No problem. You just do it. It does not flag anything. Your youngest in years. So it says, note the youngest age may not be younger than 4 years, 9 months old. You do not need to file this until your child is 6 by September 1st. You are not allowed to file it if your child is less than 4 years, 9 months. So that's all this is saying. So I'm going to say, what did I say? I had a 5th grader. So we're going to say 10 years old and 1 month. And then the oldest child, nobody really cares about them. So we're going to say that they're 15. It just is one of those. And it doesn't matter how many kids you've got in the middle. You just put the youngest and you just put the oldest. So here, I'm going to say I have a 5th grader. Oh, let's say I've got a 7th grader also and a 10th grader, because I believe that's what I said. Okay. If you had anybody who graduated from the previous year, you would put it here. The number of staff employed by the school. Now, I always put, and I always have, 1 full-time teacher and 1 administrator. But let's be clear, I'm the administrator, not my husband. You can just put 1 if there's just 1. That's not a problem. Salutation. Oh, Mr. and Mrs. if you want. We're going to say Pickle is my first name. Pants is my last name. My title. And this is where it doesn't matter what you called yourself previously or how many you said. I always say I'm the administrator. And we're going to say, see, this is why I use Microsoft Edge for this. What did I say the address was? Remember, this is designed for you to homeschool your children, not someone else's. So in theory, you should live where your kids are. 93611. I can't remember Clovis's address anymore. I grew up there. Okay. This email address will be used to send your filing confirmation. So I've already done this today, and I got sent a confirmation. I also print a copy of everything, but that's how I am. So you can just copy this if you want here. For me, my husband's name is on here, so we'll call him Pickle Pot. And everything else is the same. In reality, you could enter separate information. You don't have to. I don't, because my husband doesn't want to get calls from nobody. So here it says, enter the contact information for the custodian of records. In reality, it can be you, it can be the hubby, it can be either one. It does not matter. You just put that information here, because if they are looking for that information, that is who they are going to contact. And you're just acknowledging the above mentioned records are maintained at the address stated. So if you were filing with an ISSP and they were doing this, that's where that's important. They hold all your records. So you are none of these things. You are not tax exempt under the 501c3. That is a federal nonprofit. You are not a nonprofit under any kind of California taxation code. You are not a school. You are not anything like that. So say none of the above. Don't mess with it. And no, if you say I am, that doesn't mean that your taxes, you won't have to pay taxes. So let's go through this. You understand that all private school affidavits are public documents viewable by the public. So before you have a panic, let me just point out here, none of your students' information is on here. This is just saying where your school is, your school name, and your name as an administrator head of it. All private school affidavits must be filed by persons, firms, associations, partnerships, or corporations offering or conducting full-time day school at the elementary or high school level for students between the ages of 6 and 18. So this is where, remember when I said, I understand they say you can't file it if your student's under 4 years, 9 months. You don't have to till your child's 6. Preschool should contact the Community Care Licensing Division. Preschools are not schools in this form, and they have separate licensing and care rules. The affidavit is not a license or authorization to operate a private school. It does not indicate approval, recognition, or endorsement by the state. So if you've watched any of my other videos, you know that I say you're a private school because you say so. Because the state, even with an affidavit, is not giving you permission. It's just saying that it's keeping track of the fact you exist. It should not be intended to mean and shall be unlawful to say that it means anything under the California State Superintendent of Public Schools, the CDE, or anything. Private school authorities are responsible for initiating contact with the appropriate local authorities regarding compliance with the ordinances governing health and zoning and all these things. Don't worry about this. Seriously, don't worry about it. It's saying that if they changed the rules and you couldn't, I don't know, educate your children in a certain city, you would do whatever you needed to do. It also means, like, if you decided to install some crazy science lab equipment, and I say this because my high school had like the natural gas on tap that you would plug your Bunsen burner into. That takes certain fire and safety standards and codes. And so anything like that you do, you are responsible for this. The other part is, remember, this is the same basic affidavit that's filed by all private schools. So if I wanted to have 500 kids in my home, I would have to go with the zoning requirements and all of that. So it's not really talking about too much that you as a parent need to do to educate your child at home. It's saying if you want to run a business, you have to do it as a business. When school ceases operation, every effort shall be made to give a copy of pupils' permanent records to parents or guardians. You're the parent or guardian. Keep it in your filing cabinet. In reality, a big part that is important, and this is the only part that is really important here, is I have 2 children who graduated from high school. I need to keep a copy of their transcripts because I'm 46 years old. And when I went back to college, not so much now, but when I went back to college, 30, especially because I had AP scores and college credits, I had to give them a copy of my high school transcripts, and which meant I had to go back to Clovis West and ask them for a copy of my transcripts from 25 years earlier. So just keep a copy. In reality, give your kids a copy as they move out. That helps too. You do need to keep a copy of this for 3 years. I believe I have many more than 3 years worth. I just print it off and put it in my filing cabinet. And a private school should not employ a person who's been convicted of a violent or serious felony, or a person who'd be prohibited from employment with a public school district pursuant to blah, blah, blah. So I've had this question before. You go, well, of course, I'm not a felon. What if you're a parent with a felony? You're not being employed. So don't worry about that. That is saying that you will not be employed, i.e. you will not be paid in a paid position. You are legally allowed to be a parent, and you are allowed to homeschool your child. Anything beyond that takes a lawyer, and I'm not going to play in that game. Students enrolled in the private school and included in the school's enrollment total are full-time students in the school and are not enrolled in any other public or private elementary or secondary school on a full-time basis. This means if you have, if you're teaching them like 3 subjects on the side, but they're enrolled in your local public school, don't file this. It also means, though, I have 2 students, well, 1 student now, who is dual enrolled in a community college. He is still considered a full-time full-time student here at my school, and he is going to both schools, and he is not full-time in that school for that reason, but his primary school is here. And then you basically say that you've understood the statutory notices and you assure that you're in compliance. And then you go to this and you make up a security question every time. Honestly, you don't have to remember what last time security question is. So don't stress. And you just hit review. It gives you all the information and you submit. And that is it. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. You are now bona fide with the state of California. And if anyone comes to give you any guff, the only things that they basically have a right to see is this affidavit and your attendance log where you cover the student's name. Seriously, that's it. Remember, none of your kids' personal information is on this affidavit. If you decide to pull out an additional student, you do not need to modify this with the state of California. That is in another education code. I can provide that to anyone who feels that they need to see it. But if you say, oh, you know what, I pulled out 1 kid to homeschool them and now I want to pull out all 7 kids, it's not a big deal. You're still a private school. You're just adding them to your attendance. Don't worry about it. Don't stress. You can still tell the public school with confidence, this is the private school. Don't worry about it. And that's it. If you do have any questions, you can, of course, always ask me. But separately, you can email privateschools@cde.ca.gov. Sometimes they're very quick to get back to you. Sometimes they're not. In reality, I would say ask me. But I've been doing this a long time. The other thing is, if you need any more assistance with your homeschool, with your affidavit, with your records, know that you can always book some private one-on-one coaching with me. I will include a link to that in the bottom, and we can work together one-on-one. If you have any questions or anything else you would like to know, let me know, and I will get back to you soon, I hope. Have a blessed day, and remember, you've got this. You totally have got this. Bye-bye, guys.